At least 40 people are dead after a string of severe storms moved across the South, Midwest, and Plains. Dozens of tornadoes, hail, and flooding rains wreaked havoc across at least a dozen states. The deadliest of storms hitting Missouri, and that's where Jay Gray is tonight with the very latest.
For 3 days, it's been a violent, relentless attack across the South and Midwest.
Oh, man!
Tornadoes, hail, flooding rains, wildfires, and dust storms.
I have vehicles crashing behind me. This is extremely volatile, very hazardous situation.
As many as a dozen states dealing with the extreme conditions. Vehicles tossed and turned over. Trees and power lines snapped and pulled to the ground. Entire neighborhoods torn apart.
Was holding my wife to my chest and just watching everything disappear and watching everything get ripped out and away from me.
Missouri seeing some of the worst of it.
Shock, numb, don't know what to think, don't know what to say anymore.
Ethan Faust lost his fiancée, one of 12 victims as a string of tornadoes cut a path of destruction across the state. The force of the winds crumbling businesses, homes splintered, debris scattered for miles. For tens of thousands now, cleanup has started across the strike zone. Families looking for anything they can salvage from what little is left of their homes. Crews clearing away the rubble.
Where we're at right now is continuing to clear roadways and power lines so that we can access all of these affected houses.
The beginning of a recovery that, in some of the hardest hit areas, will take years. Jay Gray, NBC News, Villa Ridge, Missouri.
The deadly system that gutted communities continues to move across the Northeast tonight. And just to our south, more snow could be on the way.